My father, over 50 years old, suddenly decided to undergo gender reassignment surgery. He wears eyeliner and black stockings every day, saying his greatest wish in life is to become a real woman. I warned him that gender reassignment surgery is extremely painful, carries high risks, and could even be life-threatening. He got scared and gave up on the idea. Later, his mistress used this as an excuse to dump him. He got dead drunk and, like a madman, slashed at me with a knife to protect me. My mother was stabbed to death by him, and I was kicked down the stairs by him, left paralyzed. I was tortured to death alive. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my dad was about to undergo gender reassignment surgery. I immediately agreed. My dad is so brave. I will fully support him in achieving his dream. After a dizzy spell, I wearily opened my eyes. I found myself standing at the doorstep holding a gift. I froze in place, staring at my freely moving arm, hardly believing my eyes. Oh, isn't this Yun back? Why aren't you going inside? The loud voice of Granny Wang, my neighbor, snapped me back to reality and made me realize I had been reborn. My mother cheerfully opened the door for me and welcomed me inside, but I keenly noticed that her eyes were terribly red and swollen, with traces of tears still not wiped away at the corners. Everything was exactly the same as in the previous life, too. In my past life, the moment I walked through the door, I noticed my mother looked haggard, her eyes swollen like peaches. I thought she had quarreled with my father, so I took out the gold necklace I had bought for her to cheer her up. It wasn't until I saw my father later that I understood what had happened. My father was wearing big wavy curls, sporting a full face of delicate makeup, and dressed in a sexy red dress with black stockings, swaying his hips as he walked. My jaw nearly hit the floor. It turns out that just a few weeks ago, my dad came clean to my mom. He doesn't love my mom, and he wants a divorce. To be precise, he doesn't love any woman at all. The reason he married my mother was due to societal pressure and the need to carry on the family line. For all these years, he had been suppressing his true self. Every night sleeping beside her filled him with genuine disgust. Now that my grandmother has finally passed away and I have graduated from college, he has decided to break free and undergo gender reassignment surgery to become the woman he truly is. My mother was almost crushed by this fact. She never imagined that the person she had shared a bed with for over 20 years could be like this. She cried and made a scene, but all she got in return was repeated beatings and cold violence. How can you be so selfish? You only live once. Why can't I live the way I want? I feel sick just looking at you. Don't you understand? The greatest regret of my life is not being born a woman. Now I must become a woman. After that, he locked himself in his room every day, watching beauty videos, putting on makeup, and buying all kinds of dresses and high heels. He left all the chores to my mom alone. My mother was heartbroken, yet she had to force herself to keep working, and her body was barely holding up. Taking advantage of my return, my mother begged me to talk some sense into my father. She is a traditional-minded person, afraid of others' gossip and even more desperate for a stable family. Suppressing my anger, I carefully looked up the details of the surgery online and consulted several experienced doctors. The pain of the surgery was far beyond what I had imagined, making me wince just watching it. I slapped the neatly organized documents down in front of my dad. Take a good look. Either risk your life and give it a try, or keep living your life as it is. At your age, recovery will be extremely difficult. Whether you can make it through is still unknown. The more he looked, the paler his face became. Countless cold sweat trickled down, carving white streaks through his foundation. In the end, he simply lacked the courage to take that step and had no choice but to give up on the surgery. As a result, his mistress outside used this as a reason to break up with him. My dad got dead drunk, stuffed a knife in his pocket, and barged into my room. Cui Yun, it's all because you stopped me from having the surgery, ruining my lifelong dream and making me lose my one true love. I'll kill you first, then go kill that wretched woman. He grabbed my hair and was about to stab me, but was knocked away by my mother, who rushed over upon hearing the commotion. My mother shielded me as we ran outside, but he stabbed her in the chest. Yun, don't worry about me, get out and call for help, call the police. My mom desperately blocked my dad, trying to buy me a chance to escape, but my dad was already in a killing frenzy, stabbing her several times until she was riddled with wounds. Then he caught up in a few steps and kicked me straight down the stairs. I fractured my spine, became a high-level paraplegic, and suffered severe damage to my speech nerves, leaving me unable to move or speak. To lessen his punishment, my father stabbed himself. He confessed that my mother suddenly went mad and tried to kill him, and in a panic, he fought back and accidentally killed her. When asked about the reason, He shed hypocritical tears and showed several photos of himself in women's clothing. I don't love my wife, I want a divorce. I've worked hard my whole life, I want to live for myself for once, but she said I've disgraced the whole family, called me a freak who's neither man nor woman, and insisted on killing me to vent her anger. He put on a look of extreme agony. I didn't want this either, I was really terrified at the time, I didn't mean to. During the police investigation, the neighbors also testified that my mother had been in a very bad mood recently and had several arguments with my father. My father spent a large sum of money to hire a lawyer. In the end, he was convicted of excessive self-defense resulting in death and was sentenced to only 3 years. 3 years later, he picked me up from the sanatorium. My nightmare began from that moment on. He took pleasure in tormenting me every single day. I was in excruciating pain, yet I didn't even have the ability to end my own life, and ultimately died in despair. This time, I faced the flamboyantly dressed Chui Daqiang without changing my expression. I said to my mom, "Mom, what era are we living in now? Your thinking is way too conservative. Dad hasn't had an easy life, so I plan to support his dream." 3. Actually, in my past life, I had already vaguely realized that he had fallen for a love scammer. Because I enjoy reading social news, I know about many gray area professions. Medical brokers are one of them. They use various excuses to refer people to designated hospitals for treatment or cosmetic surgery, and later take a hefty commission. Otherwise, how could Chui Daqiang, a man in his 40s, suddenly encounter so-called true love? I tried to reason with him, but he wouldn't listen at all. I had no choice but to scare him with the bloody surgical procedure. But this time, I changed my mind. Since he wants to go through this ordeal, why should I stop him? The only thing I need to do is convince my mom to get a divorce quickly, take the assets, and get as far away from him as possible. As for Chui Daqiang, go ahead and dig your own grave. The worse your end, the better. So I spoke gently to calm my dad down, showered him with a ton of flattery, and praised him for being so brave and charging forward for love, saying he really looked cool. "Dad, you're so awesome, I truly admire you. Don't worry, I fully support you. I'll convince my mom to agree to the divorce. You know, my mom is pretty conservative in her thinking. If you want to settle this quickly, could you give her a larger share of the assets? That way, it'll be easier for me to negotiate with her." Right now, my dad's mind is completely set on getting the surgery done as soon as possible and running off with his lover. As long as he can shake off my mom quickly, a little loss of assets doesn't matter to him. Although my family lives in a small city, my mother runs a very popular small restaurant thanks to a secret recipe for braised pork bones passed down from her maternal family. We own a small villa and also have a commercial apartment in the city center, right above a subway station. Our savings should be in the 7 figures. I was silently calculating in my mind. This small villa is in a bad location and has limited property rights, making it hard to sell. That apartment in the city center is a hot property, so it should be easy to liquidate. As for savings, we should aim to get at least half. The restaurant has always relied on my mom's secret recipes and skills. She herself is the core asset. With the principal, she can open a new store anywhere without any problem. I never expected my mom to absolutely refuse. "Sweetie, your mother can't bear to lose face at this age. How am I supposed to face the neighbor's stares?" she sobbed as she hugged me and cried. "I've finally made it through to your college graduation. I just wanted a few years of peace, even if it meant settling for a mediocre life. Is your dad sick? Can he be cured if we take him to a big hospital?" "I'm not afraid. Mom has money. I'll pay for his treatment. As long as we can live a peaceful life, I'll do whatever it takes." "Good daughter. You're a college student, you know a lot. Can you try to talk some sense into him?" I looked at her swollen, red eyes, my heart filled with mixed emotions. "Mom, I know you're hurting inside, but look at him now. Is he still someone who can live a stable life? He's not sick at all. He's been lying to you all along, for over 20 years. I held her hand and spoke from the heart, and, to be honest with you, I secretly looked at his phone. He's seeing someone else, a man. What if he catches some strange infectious disease? Do you want to be dragged down by him? I laid out the whole story for her, forcing her to face reality. The more my mom thought about it, the angrier she got, gritting her molars in hatred. No wonder, even when he was young, every time I bought a dress, he'd try it on himself, and my lipstick always mysteriously ran out. He always complained that I smelled like kitchen grease and didn't want to get close to me. Turns out this beast had been lying to me all along. Exactly. It's not too late to realize that now. Just cut your losses and move on. I told my mom about my next plans, for I plan to return to the big city to find a job and settle down, and my mom will come with me, never coming back. After some persuasion from me, my mom finally agreed to the divorce. Once a series of procedures are completed, we will start handling and dividing the property. Without my mom's interference, my dad has finally completely let himself go. Whenever he had free time, he would go on dates with that man. My strong support made him see me as one of his own, and he no longer held back from me. He would casually tell me about their first meeting, how his heart raced for him. As I expected, he met that man on a dating forum. The more they talked, the more they hit it off, eventually leading to meeting in person. That man turned out to be so handsome and elegant, cultured and knowledgeable. My mother, that vulgar country woman, wasn't even fit to tie his shoes. With that man's enthusiastic push, his surgery was also put on the agenda. The man recommended that he go to a familiar private hospital for the procedure, because having such surgery in a public hospital is very complicated and requires a lot of paperwork, which is especially time-consuming. This private hospital, however, has excellent medical techniques and high privacy. Many people in this circle have had the procedure done there and recovered very well. They also have an internal surgery discussion group. I used my dad's phone to add my alternate account into the group. After lurking for a few days, I found that most of the accounts in this group are suspected to be medical brokers. They all call that man Dr. Yen Bin, and this Yen Bin is responsible for referring patients to the hospital. He not only deceives men but also women, tricking them into undergoing various cosmetic and body contouring surgeries. I sneered as I watched the group of liars in the chat praising Yen Bin as if he were a flower. In my past life, this scumbag had a hand in the tragic deaths of my mother and me. Once my mother gets the money, I will launch a relentless revenge against them. 5. I first went to that hospital, saying I had just graduated from college and was currently looking for a job, hoping to get a position, even a part-time one would do, but they were highly cautious and didn't even bother to acknowledge me. So I went through my dad's browsing history, registered on countless forums, and followed the trail to join many WeChat groups. After lying low for a while, I figured out their tricks. These medical tout part-time groups have been continuously posting advertisements recruiting agents and inviting people to join their teams. They basically operate in gangs, with one person having many agents under them. To get a part-time job, you need to be introduced by a specific person to those private hospitals. Hard work pays off. After repeatedly filtering through the results, I finally found that familiar profile picture and WeChat name. I joined his team using a burner account. After dropping his name, the hospital finally responded to me. The person in charge added me to a work group and gave a detailed explanation of the commission. The commission for a single surgery could be as high as 50%. They not only collude with medical brokers to trick people into undergoing surgery, but also tailor their approach based on the patient's profile, adjusting the medication according to the patient's condition. If the client is a naive college student, they will directly use counterfeit or substandard products. If it's a middle-aged woman with a fat wallet but little education, they will wildly exaggerate the surgical effects, recommend as many procedures as possible, and squeeze out as much money as they can. If it's an influencer or the like, they will offer the best service attitude and secretly swap imported goods for domestic ones, with the motto that as long as nothing goes wrong, it's a success. They also encouraged those agents not to be afraid even if they messed up, saying that consumers are a vulnerable group who find it hard to gather evidence to defend their rights. As long as they stall them for a year or so, many people would just accept their bad luck. I recorded and saved all of these on screen. 6. My dad finally got the surgery he had been dreaming of. Before entering the operating room, he glanced left and right in front of the mirror, practicing his winks with exaggerated expressions. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm finally going to break out of my cocoon and become a butterfly. This surgery costs $600,000. I've already looked up the information. Other hospitals generally quote between $100,000 and $300,000 just from this single surgery. Yen Bin pocketed a hefty kickback, but Yen Bin talked up this hospital to the skies, claiming that for my father's sake, he had specially asked the director to spend a fortune to bring in senior foreign experts, and that all the materials were top-tier imports. In the preparation room, Cui Daqiang looked at Yen Bin with a coy expression and said delightedly, "This is a life-changing major surgery. What's a little extra money? As long as you put your heart into it for me, I'm willing to spend however much it takes." I didn't say anything on the surface, but inside, I was sneering. How does he have the nerve to say these things? Legally speaking, these assets are indeed marital property acquired after marriage, but most of them were earned through my mother's hard work day and night. He, a scumbag who tricked her into marriage, constantly gaslights my mother, complaining that she isn't pretty or refined enough, and resenting the smell of cooking oil on her. I glared fiercely at his back, wishing he would just die on the operating table. In that case, there's no need to divide the property. However, rebirth is not a cheat code. After the surgery, he was still alive and well, but he suffered a great deal. The wound on his lower body was bloody and mangled, a gruesome sight. 3 days after the surgery, the hospital no longer provides opioid painkillers, and the replacement medication is simply not enough to relieve such intense pain. Every time the dressing is changed, every time the mold is used to stretch the wound, he screams in agony. I went to the hospital to see him every day, pretending to care deeply about him. In reality, I went to enjoy the sight of his suffering. Yen Bin would also come to see him from time to time, but I keenly caught the disgust and disdain in his eyes. He timely proposed that, in order to help Cui Daqiang become more and more beautiful, he had thoughtfully planned out the subsequent cosmetic surgeries for him. Right, his transformation wasn't completely over yet. Even after this surgery is done, he still has a man's face and a man's raspy voice, and his flat chest. There are still so many trials waiting for him to endure one by one. Just thinking about it is delightful. 7. It turns out that as long as you pray sincerely, there can still be unexpected surprises. Cui Daqiang was getting on in years, and his recovery after the surgery was not going smoothly. He kept bleeding. At first, the hospital and Yen Bin tried to keep it from him, but later, when my dad couldn't bear the pain any longer, they took him to a major hospital for a checkup. The doctors used a bunch of medical jargon that he couldn't understand. I kindly helped him with a translation, but it was essentially just not cleanly cut and needed to be remade from scratch. Cui Daqiang was stunned on the spot. Such a grave crime, and he had to endure it all over again. He trembled all over in fear and even lost control of his bladder on the spot. Yen Bin frowned in disgust, forcing himself to suppress his nausea as he helped him deal with it. There was no choice. For the sake of money, he still had to put on a show. He told my dad that the doctor's skill was too poor. The lead surgeon for the operation was an expert he had specially brought in from abroad, with far more experience than them. How could the job not have been done thoroughly? This doctor is just trying to scam money, deliberately scaring him. In fact, just prescribing some anti-inflammatory and painkillers, letting him rest and recover slowly at home, would be enough. But after that, Yen Bin started making all sorts of excuses about being busy, and his visits to see Cui Daqiang gradually became less frequent. My dad started acting like a lovesick little girl, worrying about gains and losses. Yen Bin told Cui Daqiang that he had gone on an exchange and inspection trip to another city. Cui Daqiang then asked me to tail him and see if he was seeing someone else. I agreed immediately. I could go, but I had no money. He would have to cover the round-trip airfare, hotel accommodation, and meal expenses. My father, who has trouble getting around on his own, had no choice but to grit his teeth and agree. Since I've taken his money, I still have to get the job done. I realized that Yen Bin never actually went out of town. He just made up a casual excuse to brush me off. When he said that, he was leisurely smoking a cigar at a quiet bar. Cui Daqiang is such a sly fox. I asked him to lend me money a few times, and he actually made excuses to turn me down. Lately, I've been making excuses about being busy, saying I don't have time to see him, just to teach him a lesson. A beautiful woman beside him asked, "What's up, Brother Bin? Looks like this big fish has some tricks up his sleeve." Yen Bin chuckled and pinched her cheek. "Tricks my ass, he's just being sneaky, thinking he can play me. Those small cosmetic surgery gigs have low commissions, not much to gain. It's this kind of big fish that's interesting. One deal can be worth several. This Cui Daqiang is in the middle of divorcing his wife. He can get the house and money. Once I've squeezed him dry, I'll kick him to the curb." The woman beside him giggled and leaned in. Yen Bin gave her a loud kiss. "Having to hang around that androgynous creep every day is disgusting. Baby, you've got to keep me company tonight and help me forget all about it." The beauty smiled and agreed. "You've worked hard, sweetie. I'll keep you company, no problem. But you have to buy me the latest handbag." Oh my, watching these two cling to each other in such a sickly sweet manner, I couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. Cui Daqiang doesn't love women, but this Yen Bin is absolutely crazy about them. When a con artist meets another con artist, when a marriage scammer meets a money scammer, is it a collapse of morality, or a distortion of human nature? 8. I scurried off to report to my dad. Of course, I couldn't tell him the truth. I made up a whole story for him, saying that Yen Bin was indeed working very seriously, rushing from one meeting to the next. I can tell that he is truly an outstanding person. Dad, you have really good taste. Upon hearing this, Chui Daqiang immediately became a bit nervous. Are there many people trying to strike up a conversation with him? I thought for a moment and said mysteriously, at an industry networking event, of course there were plenty of people striking up conversations, not just conversations. Many people exchanged business cards with him and added him on WeChat too. His expression instantly turned sour. I added a timely remark, a man like that, elegant, single, and wealthy, it's hard not to be charmed. From that day on, Chui Daqiang became restless. Eventually, he couldn't help but ask me. Yan Bin hasn't been in touch much lately, could he be angry? He asked me to lend him money before, but I didn't. I deliberately put on a hesitant look, and only after he repeatedly pressed me did I reluctantly tell the truth. Actually, when I was following him, I accidentally got caught. He was especially upset, feeling that you didn't trust him enough, ever since you refused to lend him money that time. He sensed that you were wary of him, and now, with you asking me to tail him, he's even more certain. My dad's face instantly took on an expression that looked like it was about to shatter. I held back my laughter. For him, you even went through such a painful surgery, how come you're reluctant to lend him a little money? Is it worth hurting someone's feelings over such a small amount of money? After the surgery, Chui Daqiang took a large amount of hormonal medication. I think it also had a certain impact on his emotions and brain. Sure enough, he started sobbing quietly. I feel insecure inside. Sigh. It's not that I don't trust him. What should I do now? He's not replying to my messages, and he's not answering my calls either. I thought for a moment and said, so you're planning to lend it to him? Then I'll go all the way and help you pass it along, but don't nag him about it, okay? He's very proud. Borrowing money from his own woman in an emergency is already embarrassing enough for him. I deliberately emphasized the words, his own woman. Sure enough, my dad showed his shyness again and immediately agreed. I happily took his bank card and withdrew 200,000, then transferred it to my mom's account. Don't ask too many questions, just take it if I give it to you. 9. However, this incident planted a sense of crisis in my father's heart. Before his lower body had even fully recovered, he hastily arranged for plastic surgery. He was afraid that if he didn't become beautiful soon, his lover would be taken away by someone else. As soon as he heard there was money to be made, Yan Bin immediately clung to him again. The doctor he recommended really knows how to plan: double eyelid surgery, rhinoplasty, bone shaving for a slimmer face, lip augmentation, facelift, forehead augmentation, jawline injections, neck wrinkle injections, elf ears. Everything that could be arranged was arranged. I never imagined such a small area could accommodate so many procedures. Looking at the dense small print on the surgical risk consent form, my eyes nearly went blind. Yet my dad signed it all without even glancing at it. He said his precious one had already read it for him, and now he had 100% trust in his precious one. The contract was signed, the money was paid, and he was cheerfully looking forward to his transformed, more beautiful self. I was secretly calculating in my mind, I've heard that facial bone shaving carries huge risks and can easily lead to massive bleeding. Could I take a gamble this time and let him end up cold on the operating table? But once again, the facts proved I was overthinking. My dad stumbled at the very first step, the double eyelid surgery and forehead augmentation. It was bad enough that the double eyelids turned out uneven, one wide, one narrow, but the real killer was the forehead filler injection. After the injection, he lost sight in one eye. It was likely due to the doctor's improper technique, which caused the medication to flow retrograde through the facial artery into the ophthalmic artery, thereby damaging the optic nerve. When he looked with his remaining eye and saw his forehead swollen like the god of longevities and his eye sunken like a belly button, he completely broke down. He smashed every mirror he could get his hands on. What's worse, due to the lack of proper treatment and the excessive use of various medications, he started bleeding again in his lower body and developed severe adhesions. When the mold was used to reopen the passage, his agonizing screams echoed through the hallway, audible to everyone in the hospital. If my mom weren't so timid, would have recorded it for her to see. Chui Daqiang was on the verge of a breakdown and wanted to confront the hospital for an explanation. At this moment, Yan Bin hypocritically cried and begged for his forgiveness. It turned out that this hospital was run by his relative, and he also held shares in it. He had staked his entire fortune and life on this. If the matter escalated, not only would he be unable to explain himself to his relative, but he would also be implicated. What he loved was Chui Daqiang as a person, his soul, not his appearance. No matter what Chui Daqiang became, he would always love him. He was willing to spend the rest of his life making it up to him and staying by his side forever. My dad was so overwhelmed by the sweet promises that he signed the settlement agreement in a daze. The so-called settlement agreement, I glanced through it hastily and found that several clauses were blatantly shifting the blame onto the patient, such as claiming the patient did not follow medical advice, but Cui Daqiang said that for the sake of being with his beloved forever, it was all worth it. Now I just feel that his surgery cannot be said to have been unsuccessful, because he has completely turned into a love-struck little wife. 10. During this time, my mom sold the apartment in the city center, transferred the restaurant, and the transfer fee was already in hand, but now, Cui Daqiang no longer has the mind to think about any of this. He was tricked by Yan Bin into undergoing so-called restorative surgeries time and time again, but the effect was minimal. That blind eye still couldn't see. I took a small portion of the money from the house sale and the restaurant transfer fee to fob him off. After all, it was agreed from the start that the condition for my mom agreeing to the divorce was that she would take the larger share of the assets, but even the smaller share amounted to several $100,000. After Yan Bin found out, he told my dad that for the sake of their future, he wanted to buy a house. He spotted a property next to a resort in a neighboring city, with beautiful scenery that was very suitable for living. He knew him well. After a complete transformation, he would definitely want to start a new life in a new city. This city held too many traces and memories of his life with his ex-wife. Most of Yan Bin's money was tied up in investments for the hospital. Not long ago, the hospital had just purchased a batch of medical equipment, which cost a considerable amount. He patted his chest and thought that as soon as the year-end dividends were distributed, he would pay the money back immediately. He would never let his woman spend money. With sweet talk like that, how could Cui Daqiang possibly refuse? He said he also wanted to go see the house together. After all, it would be their future love nest. Yan Bin's face was full of concern. I want to take you too, but you haven't fully recovered yet and can't sit in a car for long. Don't worry, I'll take videos for you to choose from. Whichever one you say to buy, we'll buy. Yan Bin took the money and went to choose a house, and then never came back. 11. After discovering this, Cui Daqiang first made a huge scene at the hospital. The hospital refused to acknowledge that Yan Bin was their employee. He was just a friend of the hospital director, occasionally helping out at the hospital. My father angrily called them a bunch of swindlers and demanded a full refund of all expenses. However, when the hospital asked him to provide the receipts, he was stunned. All those projects were solely handled by Yan Bin. Back then, Yan Bin said that using his account would get a discount, so Cui Daqiang's money was all directly transferred to Yan Bin's account. My dad made another scene at the dean's office. The dean came out to mediate, and out of humanitarian spirit, they could help Cui Daqiang continue to complete all the projects. Thus, Yan Bin and the hospital did not constitute fraud. At most, it can only be considered an economic dispute. However, a refund is absolutely impossible, but with Cui Daqiang's current state, anyone with clear eyes can see that he is no longer able to undergo any cosmetic procedures. The settlement agreement signed earlier has made his path to seeking justice even more difficult. On top of that, he now suffers from the aftermath every day, in so much pain that even walking is a struggle, let alone fighting for his rights. With that, the divorce certificate was in hand, and so was the money. I'm leaving with my mom. Cui Daqiang came to us crying, limping along. Look at me now. How can you bear to just walk away like this? My mom rolled her eyes so hard they nearly disappeared, shoving him far away with a slap. Stay away from me, you stink. Disgusting. Did you crap your pants? I laughed too. I've already helped you realize your dreams. I convinced my mom to agree to the divorce and accompanied you through the surgery you've been longing for. What else are you dissatisfied with? Isn't all of this exactly what you wanted? Cui Daqiang stammered, unable to utter a single word. After a long while, he pleaded with my mom. Wan Ping, I was wrong. Can you please not leave? Can we start over? Let's just live a good life together. That's what really matters. My mom immediately glared at him as if he were insane. She hadn't needed to go to the restaurant every day lately. Aside from handling the property, she spent her time shopping, getting massages, and doing beauty treatments. Her mindset had completely changed. She slowly realized that there is no single answer to living well. There are all kinds of ways to live life. You don't have to settle. You can still live a fulfilling life on your own. Sweetie, don't waste your words on him. Just looking at him makes me sick now. Hurry up, our high-speed train is about to leave. My mom pulled me along quickly, grumbling as we walked. Ugh, I really don't know what I was thinking before, getting up early and working late every day to take care of such a piece of trash, and I even wanted to keep living with him. I must have had my head stuck in a door. 12, but to be fair, I still have one wish I haven't fulfilled for my dad, that is to be with Yan Bin forever. A leopard can't change its spots. Although Yan Bin ran off with the money, his old trade made money so easily, how could he ever settle for honest work? So, after barely 2 months of behaving himself, he went back to his old ways. My alternate account is still in his groups. Soon, I found his location and the new hospital he was working for. As luck would have it, he happened to be in the same city where my mother and I lived. I continued to stay in touch with him using a burner account. Sometimes he would hold offline training sessions at his office for the newly joined agents. I followed the address and went there. Next to the office building was a bar, and Yen Bin really enjoyed coming here to drink. Young girl always accompanied him, appearing very close to him. As he drank, he told the girl about some amusing incidents he encountered while scamming. One day, he ran into Cui Daqiang. That transvestite is really something. At first, I just flattered him a bit to secure the order, but I never expected him to take it seriously. He actually agreed to get sex reassignment surgery and even started a divorce with his wife. Do I really look like I'm gay? Ha ha ha. He laughed sarcastically while placing his hand on the girl's thigh. The girl gently tapped the tip of his nose and said, "Do you even know that right now, your type of refined scoundrel is all the rage?" Yen Bin sneered. I really don't know where he gets the confidence to think I'd ever fall for a freak like him, neither man nor woman, and he even asked me if I'm a loyal person, if I believe in one person for a lifetime. It's absolutely hilarious. The girl blinked and pressed on. So, what did you say? Yen Bin laughed heartily and said, I told you, I'm really a devoted person. I didn't lie to him, you know. After all, I've always liked young and beautiful women my whole life. The girl giggled and playfully punched him on the chest. You're so annoying, you're such a bad guy. The two of them fooled around for a while and then headed straight to a nearby hotel. I filmed this entire scene from beginning to end. Then, I sent him a WeChat message. Dad, maybe it's not appropriate to call you Dad anymore. I'll just call you Aunt Cui. You can't blame my mom for being angry. Anyway, she's mad at you, but I still care about you. I've been looking for Yen Bin for you. I found him, and I also discovered where he works. I'm really angry, because you've given so much for him, but maybe there's some misunderstanding in between. It's best for you two to meet and talk, so the misunderstanding can be cleared up. Not long after, my dad replied to me, woo-woo. My daughter is still the best. I don't need to talk to him anymore. I hate him to death. Now, I replied, alright, I respect your choice. Then I sent the recorded video and location all at once to Cui Daqiang. With his vengeful nature, I don't believe he won't come. Cui Daqiang should be almost fully recovered by now, right? Hurry up, don't let me down. 13. My company is not far from here, and sometimes I come to the convenience store here to buy lunch. That day, I had just stepped into the convenience store when I heard my colleague exclaim in surprise. Look over there, a fight's broken out. That guy looks terrifying, like a Frankenstein monster. As soon as I heard that description, I knew it had to be Cui Daqiang. Through the glass door on the other side of the convenience store, I could just make out the exit of the office building. Cui Daqiang was tangled up with Yen Bin. His hat, sunglasses, and mask were scattered all over the ground, likely torn off during the scuffle. He was crying and snotting as he loudly cursed Yen Bin for being a heartless jerk. Yen Bin's new girlfriend was shrieking in shock on the side. Oh my God, his face is so terrifying, so disgusting. A trans woman trying to steal a man. Are you out of your mind? Cui Daqiang charged over like a madman and slapped the girl hard across the face. Bitch, watch your mouth. Who's a trans woman? I'm just like you now. The girl made a gagging motion. Don't make me sick. Who doesn't know that thing of yours wasn't even fully removed? Just like me. Are you trying to kill me with laughter? The onlookers erupted in an uproar, with some even pulling out their phones to record videos. Cui Daqiang's face slowly turned a purplish red. I knew that was a sign he was about to explode in rage. Yen Bin walked over and shielded the girl behind him. You say I deceived you. Do you have any evidence? All the projects you participated in before were voluntary. Which procedure did you want that the hospital didn't perform for you? Are you blaming the hospital for your own decision to give up? As for your dissatisfaction with the surgical results, I had already fully explained the situation to you at the time. Moreover, you didn't follow the doctor's orders, so you bear some responsibility yourself. Besides, you've already signed the mediation agreement. If you're not satisfied, you can go to the relevant authorities and sue the hospital. Let's see if you can win. If you keep pestering, that's harassment. I'll have to call the police and have you arrested. Yen Bin, as if well prepared, fluently delivered this long string of words. Come to think of it, he was a seasoned pro, having deceived countless people long ago, and had long since memorized the routine. The onlookers also began discussing among themselves. Clearly, compared to the terrifying appearance of Cui Daqiang. Yan Bin, with his decent looks and clear logic, was more trustworthy. Some people simply started a live stream. Today, I encountered a super scary freak downstairs at the office building. Couldn't even tell if it was a man or a woman. It's the first time I've seen a man fighting another man over a man. Yan Bin grinned, a smug smile spreading across his face. He put his arm around his girlfriend's shoulder and turned to leave. Only I kept my eyes fixed on Cui Daqiang, watching as he slowly pulled a knife from his chest, throwing away the scabbard. He suddenly plunged the knife into Yan Bin's back. Yan Bin fell to the ground, coughed up a mouthful of blood, and stared at Cui Daqiang in disbelief. "I'll kill you first, then go kill that wretched woman." What a familiar line. The last time he stabbed me with a knife, he said the same thing. As he spoke, Cui Daqiang pulled out the knife and quickly stabbed several more times. The sudden turn of events terrified the crowd, who screamed and scattered in all directions. The fleeing crowd knocked Yan Bin's girlfriend to the ground. Cui Daqiang sneered and, without hesitation, stabbed toward her neck. The girl's slender neck was severed halfway, and she immediately stopped moving as if still not satisfied. Cui Daqiang continued to viciously stab her face with the knife. "It's all your fault. You ruined the dream of my life and made me lose my one true love. You fucking bitch. You deserve to die." His appearance, coupled with the bloodstains all over him, made him look like a bloodthirsty demon. The police arrived quickly. Seeing Cui Daqiang's terrifying appearance, the police immediately fired a warning shot, ordering him to drop his weapon and put his hands behind his head. However, Cui Daqiang acted as if he couldn't hear anything, his eyes bloodshot with killing intent. He actually raised his knife and approached step by step, charging at the police. With a crisp gunshot, Cui Daqiang finally fell. This time, he had no chance to stage the scene and pretend it was an act of self-defense. His final wish was also fulfilled, as he went to meet Yan Bin underground. 14. My mom's new restaurant has opened. She can never stay idle, always wanting more people to taste her signature dishes. When I told her about Cui Daqiang's death, she said very calmly, "Why bring him up? What bad luck?" Yet her hand, chopping the ribs, came to a halt. After a moment, she said slowly to me, "Yun Yun, actually I had two dreams before. Once, I dreamed that we all disagreed with Cui Daqiang having surgery. He went mad with rage, got drunk, and hacked us all to death with a knife. Another time, although he didn't undergo surgery, he didn't go mad with revenge either. Instead, he spent the rest of his life with me in a strained and awkward manner. I thought it over and over, and I always felt that neither of these two options was what I wanted, so I decided to listen to you. Now the two of us are getting along just fine, and he? Forget it, it's all just a tangled fate." After saying that, she continued with her work, and I just want to say, Cui Daqiang got what he deserved. I sent all the information I had previously gathered from lurking in the hospital work group to the relevant authorities and the media. Every single one of these people will face their comeuppance. Justice may be delayed, but it will not be absent. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. On the second day of collective heating, the pregnant woman upstairs asked me to turn off the heating. The reason was that she was extremely sensitive to heat after becoming pregnant, fearing it might harm the precious gift in her womb. In my previous life, as an oncologist, I could tell at a glance that she wasn't actually pregnant. Her belly was swollen due to a tumor. At my strong suggestion, she went to the hospital for a checkup and received timely treatment, but I was falsely accused by the pregnant woman, who feared her husband would discover her fake pregnancy, of causing the baby's death due to the heater. On my way home from work, I was brutally killed by a violent man obsessed with having a child. In this life, I choose to remain silent. Yet the pregnant woman knelt before me, kowtowing until her head was covered in blood, begging me to save her. Bang, 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 accompanied by the pounding on the door. A shrill female voice rang out from outside, "Open the door, I know you're home, hurry up and open it, stop pretending to be dead." Seeing that I didn't respond, the woman's words grew even more cutting. "Are you deaf? Open the door. Let me tell you, I'm carrying the Song family's heaven-sent gift in my belly. It's precious. Your broken heater is cranked up so high. Are you trying to kill my son with the heat? If anything happens to my heaven-sent gift, my husband and I will never let you off. You couldn't even afford to pay for it if you sold yourself." It's Lu Xiaoya's voice. With a jolt, I was completely awake. In my previous life, it was today that I was awakened by her banging on the door. Out of neighborly goodwill, I opened it. Outside the door, Lu Xiaoya, with her big belly, had a flushed face and spoke as if she had swallowed gunpowder. After introducing herself, she didn't make a request but demanded that I immediately turn off the heating in my home. The reason was that after becoming pregnant, she was extremely afraid of heat, fearing that the so-called heaven-sent gift in her belly would be harmed by the heat. As a doctor in a related field, I could tell at a glance that the shape of her abdominal bulge was somewhat abnormal. It didn't resemble a normal pregnancy but rather seemed more like a large tumor in the ovarian area. It was also because of the tumor that she was abnormally afraid of heat. Out of professional integrity, I strongly urged her to go to the hospital for an examination. Seeing her hesitation, I even proactively covered the expenses for her. Thanks to the timely medical attention and the fact that I personally performed the surgery, the tumor was successfully removed, pulling her back from the brink of death. But a few months later, Song Jiabao, who had been working away from home, returned and found his wife's belly flat. Enraged by years of desperate longing for a child, Song Jiabao flew into a furious rage, fearing that her husband would beat her severely upon learning the truth. Lu Xiaoya chose to shift all the blame onto me. She twisted the facts, claiming that it was because I insisted on not turning off the heating, which caused her heaven-sent gift to overheat and be harmed. Afraid that something might happen to the child, she hurried to the hospital for a checkup, only to encounter me again. I worked there. Still holding a grudge from our previous argument, I deliberately lied, claiming the detected signs of life were a tumor, and forcibly performed an abortion on her, cutting off the Song family's lineage. After learning the truth, Song Jiabao was consumed by rage, believing that I intended to cause his family to have no descendants. One late night, he followed me, knocked me unconscious, and then dragged me into his home, where he dismembered me with brutal cruelty. In the end, they even followed a foolish folk remedy, digging out my heart and boiling it into a soup to drink, because they had heard that doing so could help them conceive a child again. Jiabao's mother curses me every day for not being able to bear children. If this heaven-sent gift is lost, I won't be able to survive in the Song family. You turning on the heater is just trying to drive me to my death. The memory was interrupted by the noise, anger, and hatred nearly overwhelming me. I bit my lower lip hard and stared at the door. Outside the door, Lu Xiaoya was still relentlessly pounding on it, her words growing increasingly unbearable. Do you think hiding will work? Let me tell you, if you don't turn off the heating tonight, I'll sit right here at your door until dawn. Let's see if you come out or not. You heartless, rotten thing, you just want to kill me, kill my son. In my past life, I opened that door and met my death. In this life, I choose silence. I want to see how long it takes for the tumor in your belly to kill you without my reminders. The phone buzzed with a message from the residents' group chat. Who's banging on the door in the middle of the night? Can't you let people sleep? Isn't anyone going to do something about this? It sounds like it's coming from outside 1802. What on earth are you doing in the middle of the night? Can you have a bit of public decency? How can you be so inconsiderate? I didn't respond, but instead posted a video in the group chat showing Lu Xiaoya frantically banging on my door and hurling insults. As soon as the video was posted, the group erupted in outrage. Holy crap, who is this woman? She's so fierce. Isn't that the pregnant lady from 1902? She usually seems quite gentle. Why is she acting like this? Directly banging on the door. That counts as harassment, right? Isn't the property management doing anything? Call the police. We must call the police. Let the police handle this. Lu Xiaoya was clearly also on her phone. Seeing the video and the overwhelming condemnation, she panicked, clearly not expecting me to be so direct. She didn't dare to bang on the door again, but she started twisting the truth in the group chat, trying to force me to come out. It's the person inside who's trying to kill my son. She deliberately turned the heating up full blast, trying to overheat my baby. This vicious woman, I'm going to demand justice from her. Watching her ridiculous accusations on the screen, I began to play the innocent victim. At 1902, Lu Xiaoya, I'm not at home. I just got off the night shift and am still on my way. How could I have harmed your precious son? And I remember you just moved here as a tenant. Even if there's some misunderstanding between us, can we resolve it tomorrow when I get home? It's the middle of the night. We shouldn't disturb everyone's rest. As soon as the message was sent, it further ignited the anger in the group chat. At 1902, Lu Xiaoya, are you crazy? They're not even at home. How could they possibly harm your son? Exactly. And I know 1802, she's a doctor who often works night shifts. It's completely normal for her not to be home at this hour. Turning on the heating to harm your son? I've lived half my life and never heard such an outrageous excuse. If you're afraid of the heat, why don't you just turn on the air conditioning yourself? These words seemed to hit a nerve with Lu Xiaoya, who angrily replied, "Easy for you to say, electricity isn't free, why don't you pay my electricity bill? Damn, how can you be so shameless? Why should I pay your electricity bill? Damn it, who is her landlord? Can't they do something about this? I've had enough." Just then, the property manager finally arrived at the scene with 2 security guards. "Please calm down and stop harassing the other residents, it's so late, and this is causing a terrible disturbance." The property manager's tone was clearly displeased and firm. Lu Xiaoya, however, paid no heed and pointed at my door while complaining to the property management manager, "You came just in time, it's her, the person inside is trying to harm my son, hurry up and open the door, I want to confront her face to face." The property manager looked troubled. Ms. Lin is not at home, and we have no right to force the door open. Moreover, your behavior has seriously disturbed the neighbors. Please come back with us immediately. I'm not going back, I won't leave until she gives me an explanation. Lu Xiaoya began to act unreasonably. I posted the video in the group chat again. Now, the landlord who had been lurking in the group chat had no choice but to step in. Lu Xiaoya's phone rang. It was her husband, Song Jiabao, calling. Even from a distance, I could faintly hear the man's furious roar on the other end of the line. "Lu Xiaoya, what the hell are you doing? The landlord just called me and said if you cause any more trouble, he'll kick us out. Get your ass back here right now, you're making a fool of yourself." Lu Xiaoya's face instantly turned deathly pale, and her earlier shameless demeanor vanished. Under the dual pressure from the property management and her husband, she could only follow the property staff toward the elevator with resentment. Before leaving, she glared fiercely at my door. The elevator doors slowly opened, and the property staff and security guards stepped in first, turning their backs to the outside. Just as the elevator doors were about to close, I seized the perfect moment and abruptly pulled my front door open, ensuring that only Lu Xiaoya could see me clearly. Then, facing her astonished face, slowly and with utmost clarity, he mouthed the words, "Idiot." Lu Xiaoya's eyes instantly widened in shock. She instinctively tried to rush out but was mercilessly blocked by the closing elevator doors. Ding! The elevator descended. The world fell silent once more. The next day after work, as I approached my front door, the sight before me froze me in place. The door was wide open, the lock violently pried apart, with twisted metal parts scattered on the ground. Inside, the scene was even more chaotic. Limited edition ceramic ornaments lay shattered across the floor. The carpet was covered in dirty footprints and scattered fruit peels and paper scraps, while Lu Xiaoya sat comfortably on my custom-made Italian leather sofa, holding the expensive golden pillow durian I had bought, eating it with yellow stains all over her mouth. Seeing me return, she was taken aback at first, then casually wiped the sticky residue from her hands onto the sofa, showing no trace of panic on her face. Her tone was condescending from the very start. "Oh, you're back. All the stuff in this room is impractical. Only this sofa is somewhat comfortable to sit on." She patted the sofa, leaving an even more noticeable handprint. "I've looked over your house inside and out. You're an unwanted, money-losing burden, without even a man, living in such a big, nice house. Isn't that a waste?" She sized me up from head to toe, her eyes filled with undisguised contempt. "But I'm kind-hearted and feel sorry for you. The one in my belly is a boy, the only heir of the Song family, destined to carry on the family line and bring glory to our ancestors. Your house, with its location and decor, is decent enough. It's perfect for me to rest during my pregnancy and convenient for postpartum recovery later, once I give birth to my son. Considering your contribution of the house, I'll grant you the honor of being his godmother. In the future, my son can perform the funeral rites for you, so at least this house of yours won't have been bought in vain." Even after experiencing death in my past life, I was still shocked by Lu Xiaoya's shamelessness. I steadied my slightly trembling hand, raised my phone, and clearly recorded the entire process of her getting up from my sofa and throwing a piece of durian peel onto the carpet. Then, right in front of her, I directly pressed 911, "Hello, 911, I want to report a crime. Someone has illegally entered my residence. The address is..." Lu Xiaoya clearly didn't expect me to call the police so decisively. She was stunned for a moment, then jumped up on my sofa, watching the new black footprints added to the sofa. My temples throbbed with anger. "Call the police. Go ahead, I'm pregnant. Let's see what the police can do to me." The police arrived quickly. After understanding the basic situation, they prepared to follow procedure and arrest the instigator, but when their eyes fell on Lu Xiaoya's prominent, pregnant belly, Their faces indeed showed the hesitation and uncertainty I had anticipated. The older police officer tried to mediate. Ms. Lin, Lu Xiaoya, trespassing into your home without permission is indeed illegal, but your neighbors, and harmony is valuable. She's pregnant now, of course. We absolutely respect your opinion. Would you prefer to proceed directly with the legal process or have her apologize and compensate? Before I could speak, Lu Xiaoya's voice cut in. Apologize, pay compensation. Her voice suddenly rose sharply as she placed her hands on her hips. I haven't even sued her for mistreating a pregnant woman yet. This shabby house of hers is as hot as a furnace. Who will take responsibility if my son gets sick from the heat? If anyone should pay, it's her compensating me for emotional distress. Upon hearing this, the police officer looked at Lu Xiaoya with some surprise, seemingly unable to understand her train of thought. I shrugged my shoulders. Officer, I do not accept mediation. She illegally trespassed and damaged property. The evidence is clear. I demand that she be detained according to the law. Okay, Ms. Lin. Seeing that things were about to get serious, Lu Xiaoya suddenly plopped down on the ground, slapping her thighs and wailing loudly. Oh my goodness, the police are hitting people. Officials, protect each other. Are you in cahoots with this woman surnamed Lin? You believe whatever she says, bullying us ordinary folks. My stomach hurts so much. It must be from you pushing me just now. I need to go to the hospital. If anything happens to my son, I won't let you off. Her tantrum and rolling on the ground made the two police officers' expressions turn extremely grim. The younger officer's face flushed with anger, and he wanted to step forward to argue, but the older one held him back, knew the timing was just about right. Let her actually go to the hospital for a checkup. Wouldn't that reveal the tumor in her belly ahead of time? I couldn't bear to let her wake up from her heaven-sent dreams so soon. Seeing the police officers in a difficult position, I spoke up at the right moment, wearing an expression of anger mixed with helplessness, and said to the officer, "All right, officer. Since she's like this, and I don't want to make things hard for you, I agree to settle this privately." Upon hearing this, Lu Xiaoya's loud wailing immediately quieted down, and she shot me a sidelong, disdainful glance. I stopped looking at her, turned around, and began assessing the damages. After a moment, I stated a figure, a total compensation of 70,000 yuan, and this matter will be considered settled. 70,000? Why don't you just rob a bank? Lu Xiaoya sprang up from the ground, shrieking, "Who do you think you're scamming? Officer, look at this. This is extortion. You're just protecting the rich and bullying us ordinary folks." As soon as she said this, the older police officer, who had initially wanted to speak up for her, completely darkened his expression. Anyone would run out of patience after being repeatedly slandered like this. Ms. Lu, please watch your words. We are acting in accordance with the law. The compensation proposed by Ms. Lin is well-founded. If you continue to cause trouble like this, we will take you back to the police station on charges of obstructing official duties. The police officer's tone was unprecedentedly stern. Lu Xiaoya was intimidated, and a flicker of panic crossed her face. Seizing the opportunity, I once again compromised, speaking in a conciliatory tone. Forget it, officer. I don't want this to escalate too much. How about this, Lu Xiaoya? You pay me 40,000 yuan, and I'll cover the cost of the door lock and the cleaning inside the apartment myself. Let's just end this matter here, okay? Lu Xiaoya's facial muscles twitched, and she gritted her teeth, reluctantly transferring the money to my account. Watching the successful transfer notification, I sneered inwardly. 40,000, just a small compensation for the effort I put into your surgery in my past life. After that, the police gave Lu Xiaoya a few more words of warning before leaving with a look of frustration. Before leaving, Lu Xiaoya glared at me fiercely, gritting her teeth and saying, "You just wait," and I immediately called a locksmith and a cleaning service. At the same time, I started thinking about the next step. Spending 40,000 yuan in one go must have made Song Jiabao restless. It's good that you're back. Without you, this play wouldn't be able to go on. After receiving that 40,000 yuan, I didn't waste a single moment and immediately rented a place elsewhere. I quickly moved my important belongings and documents, leaving behind only a seemingly normal but actually long-monitored empty shell, waiting for Song Jiabao to show up. Sure enough, on the afternoon of the third day, the monitoring app connected to my phone emitted a piercing alarm. In the footage, Song Jiabao was punching and kicking the newly replaced door of my apartment, veins bulging on his neck as he cursed foully. "You bitch surnamed Lin, get the hell out here. How dare you swindle money from my woman? I think you've got a death wish." His violence far exceeded Lu Xiaoya's, and the heavy solid wood door groaned under his impact with a dull, thunderous sound. Lu Xiaoya, meanwhile, hid behind him, a look of schadenfreude and encouragement on her face. I calmly captured the video clip of him violently banging on the door and directly sent it to the property management and the residents' group chat. The group chat immediately erupted in an uproar, with condemnations of Song Jiabao coming one after another. The actions of the two thoroughly enraged the residents, so the landlord promptly kicked them out without a second thought. If you don't like my heating, then find a cooler place to stay. I turned off the surveillance and stopped paying attention to the commotion over there. I knew that with Song Jiabao's paranoid personality, if he couldn't find me at the old residence, he would definitely think of other ways, and the place I frequented most was the hospital. Going to the hospital was good. It was a chance to see my son, but I never expected Song Jiabao to return so quickly. That day, I had just completed a tumor removal surgery. The surgery was very successful. The patient's family tightly held my hand at the entrance of the operating room, overwhelmed with gratitude. Dr. Lin, thank you so much, you are our family's great benefactor, the man said, his voice choked with emotion. Beside him, a little girl with pigtails looked up at me with wide, admiring eyes. Thank you, Dr. Auntie, for saving my mom. I smiled and crouched down, gently patting the little girl's head. You're welcome, Auntie is a doctor, it's what I should do, your mom will recover soon. In this warm moment, a sudden commotion and the shouts of security guards erupted from the end of the corridor. Get out of the way, I'm looking for that bitch Lin. Sir, this is a hospital, please calm down my ass. She swindled my wife out of 40,000 yuan. If she doesn't pay up today, I won't let her off. It's Song Jiabao. And behind him, Lu Xiaoya, looking like she's ready to watch a show. They arrived more quickly than I had imagined. Following the direction of Lu Xiaoya's finger, Song Jiabao immediately spotted me surrounded by the patient's family. He pushed aside the security guard who tried to stop him and suddenly swung at me. Bitch, pay back the money. Just as the slap was about to land, the patient's family member who had been thanking me moments earlier stepped in front of me in a flash, grabbing Song Jiabao's wrist and shouting angrily, this is a hospital, not a place for you to act recklessly. Who the hell are you? Get out of the way. This is a private matter between her and me. Song Jiabao struggled, spittle flying everywhere. What private matter? Dr. Lin just saved my wife's life. If you dare lay a finger on her, just try. The man stood his ground, and several other family members also gathered around, glaring at Song Jiabao. The scene was in complete chaos. Seeing this, Lu Xiaoya immediately chimed in with a shrill voice, everyone, judge for yourselves. This Dr. Lin is wicked at heart. Seeing that I'm pregnant, she deliberately turned on the heater to try and kill my son. She even colluded with the police to extort 40,000 yuan from us. Someone like her doesn't deserve to be a doctor. Her outrageous words made everyone furrow their brows in confusion. Someone in the crowd retorted, nonsense, Dr. Lin is the most ethical doctor I've ever seen. You're just slandering her. Song Jiabao's hands were restrained, unable to move. Pointing at Lu Xiaoya's belly, he shouted at the onlookers, slander, my wife's unborn son, the only heir of the Song family, was almost killed by her. How could that be fake? At that moment, a little girl standing at the back of the crowd timidly stepped forward, her eyes fixed on Lu Xiaoya's bulging abdomen. She looked and looked, then said, this auntie's belly looks so round, just like my mom's did before. My mom's belly also got bigger, and we all thought she was going to have a little sister, but later, the doctor auntie said that my mom had something bad growing in her belly. Not a little sister, this auntie, is she sick too? Children speak without reservation, and the little girl's words seemed to strike a sensitive nerve in Song Jiabao. Seeing the little girl isolated and helpless once again, Song Jiabao chose to redirect all his rage. He suddenly raised his foot and, with all his strength, viciously kicked the defenseless little girl. I told you to curse my son. Everything happened too fast. No one had time to react. Watch out. I, who had been keeping an eye on Song Jiabao's movements, suddenly turned around, trying to shield the little girl in my arms, but I was still a step too late. The little girl was kicked hard to the ground, coughing up blood from her mouth right away, and I too, due to the continuous force, fell to the ground with a crack. A heart-wrenching, excruciating pain instantly erupted from my left arm, spreading throughout my entire body. My arm is broken. My little treasure, hurry, call security, hold him down, call the police. Call the police right now, Dr. Lin, your hand. The surroundings instantly descended into chaos. the angry family members of the patient could no longer hold back and rushed forward to grapple with Song Jiabao. Lu Xiaoya screamed as she tried to intervene. Security guards and medical staff rushed over. In the chaos, I endured the pain and quickly placed the little girl onto the stretcher, then seized the moment to push in a certain direction. Lu Xiaoya, who was carrying a big belly, lost her balance and fell to the ground with a cry of ouch, clutching her stomach and groaning in pain. This sudden turn of events caused the chaotic scene to pause for a moment. My son, Song Jiabao, seeing this, rushed over anxiously. I was carefully helped onto the mobile bed by the nurse and my colleagues, my arm throbbing with pain, yet it was far less than 1/10 of the agony I endured when I was dismembered in my previous life. Song Jiabao's kick not only broke my hand but also completely severed all your escape routes. Lu Xiaoya, the truth about your pregnancy belly is about to be exposed to the world, and the only one who can save you is me. With a broken hand, I was helped towards the consultation room, with Song Jiabao's resentful roars, Lu Xiaoya's painful moans, and the chaotic mess left behind me. The diagnosis came out. My arm was fractured and would not recover in a short time. I then quickly went to the emergency room to check on the little girl. My revenge should not have involved others. Bearing the pain in my arm, I asked the doctor in charge of the emergency treatment in detail about the little girl's injuries and the follow-up treatment plan. The doctor told me that although the little girl was seriously injured, she was out of life-threatening danger after timely rescue, but she would still need a period of rest and observation. Hearing this news, my anxious heart finally settled a little. Through the window, I saw the little girl lying pale on the hospital bed, and my heart was filled with immense guilt. At that moment, I became even more determined to make Song Jiabao and Lu Xiaoya pay the price. At the same time, Lu Xiaoya was rushed into the obstetrics and gynecology department. After a long wait, Lu Xiaoya's examination finally concluded, and the truth about the heaven-sent gift she had relied on for so long, which Song Jiabao had regarded as his life, was finally revealed: borderline ovarian tumor, accompanied by internal bleeding. There was no son at all. It was merely a tumor that had been growing and could have taken her life at any moment. When the doctor informed Song Jiabao of this diagnosis, he was stunned at first, then rushed into Lu Xiaoya's hospital room and began beating and kicking the frail woman lying in bed. Liar, bitch, I really thought you were pregnant with a son. Turns out you're just a barren hen, and you've grown this monstrous thing. Wasting my money, wasting my feelings. Soon after, Song Jiabao was reported to the police by the hospital and taken away. As for Lu Xiaoya, after suffering severe physical trauma and her husband's violence, she curled up on the hospital bed, her face pale and her eyes hollow. The tumor in her abdomen needed to be operated on as soon as possible. After evaluation, the hospital determined that the surgery was highly complex and carried significant risks. This surgery could only be performed by me. I had just stepped out of the hospital gate when Lu Xiaoya suddenly darted out from behind and blocked my path. With a thud, she knelt down in front of me without any warning. Dr. Lin, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong, she cried, tears and mucus streaming down her face. It was all my fault before. I was blinded by greed, and Song Jiabao is no human being. Please, you are magnanimous. I beg you, save me. Only you can save me. I don't want to die yet. Her outburst instantly drew the attention of everyone entering and exiting the hospital. People gathered around curiously, pointing and whispering among themselves. I stood where I was, looking down at her performance from above. I knew she wasn't genuinely remorseful. If she truly wanted me to save her, why would she wait for me at the hospital entrance and kowtow to me in front of everyone? She was merely trying to use moral coercion to force me into compliance. As the crowd around us grew denser, sympathetic whispers began to increase. Human nature always tends to lean toward the seemingly weaker side. Seeing that I showed no reaction, Lu Xiaoya began kowtowing with a thudding sound. Dr. Lin, I beg you, give me a way out. If you don't save me, I'll really have no choice but to wait for death. Please, have mercy. Just as public opinion was almost starting to lean in her favor, and some people were even about to take out their phones to record, I finally took action. I didn't help her up, but simply sighed softly, speaking loudly enough for everyone around to hear clearly. Hurry up and get up. It's not that I don't want to save you. I paused for a moment, my gaze sweeping over the onlookers before finally settling back on Lu Xiaoya's face, filled with hope and fear. Then, I slowly took off the clothes that covered half of my body, the white plaster on my arm glaringly bright under the sunlight. But just now, your husband kicked and broke my left hand. I can't save you anymore. The moment the words fell, the entire hospital entrance fell into A dead silence instantly exploded. My God, so it was her husband who kicked the doctor's hand and broke it. What a scumbag. He broke the doctor's hand and still has the nerve to come begging for surgery. Serves him right. It's truly karma. Lu Xiaoya froze in place, clutching her head and letting out a terrified scream, and I stood by, watching coldly as she was pointed at and cursed, and as her last hope for survival was crushed, driving her into madness. Lu Xiaoya, watching you reap what you've sown and be despised by others, this feeling is even more satisfying than stabbing you myself. But that's not enough, it's still far from enough. What I want is to crush your spirit, to make you and Song Jiabao tear each other apart in the deepest despair, never to find peace for all eternity. A few days later, I found Lu Xiaoya in a cheap rental apartment. The pressure from the tumor and the fear in her heart had long stripped away the arrogance she had shown when she barged into my home. It's you, want to live. Her cloudy eyes instantly burst with a fierce will to survive, and she nodded desperately. I'll give you two options. First, keep dragging it out, wait for the tumor to rupture or become malignant, and die in agony. Song Jiabao will clap his hands in prison, relieved that he didn't waste another penny on you. A hen that can't lay eggs. Lu Xiaoya's face instantly turned deathly pale. Second, publicly admit all your and Song Jiabao's wrongdoings and apologize to me. At the same time, cover all the medical expenses and compensation for emotional distress for the girl who was seriously injured by Song Xiaobao's kick. I can help you contact my junior fellow apprentice. He's in the neighboring city and is an expert in this field, with skills no worse than mine. She hesitated almost not at all, asking hoarsely, how do we make it public? Short video platform, real name, show your face, explain clearly. I handed her a script I had prepared long ago, which detailed everything from her unreasonable demand to turn off the heating, breaking in by prying open the door, slander and extortion, to Song Jiabao's violent assault. Lu Xiaoya looked at the script, her hands trembling. This was equivalent to asking her to personally tear off the last shred of her dignity, but faced with the threat of death, she had no choice but to compromise. She followed the requirements, filmed the video, and confessed, with tears streaming down her face, exposing Song Jiabao's ugly true nature to the public. As soon as the video was released, it indeed caused a huge uproar. Song Jiabao was also nailed to the pillar of shame, and while still in the detention center, he faced unprecedented public condemnation. Next came the issue of his own medical expenses and the compensation for the little girl. Lu Xiaoya was penniless, and Song Jiabao was even less likely to give her any money. Once again, I kindly appeared, saying, see, this is the man you rely on, you've worked hard for him, striving to build a family, but what about him? Did he care when you were sick? Not only did he ignore you, but he also beat you like this. Is a man like this worth clinging to his meager money while waiting to die? I watched as resentment and unwillingness gradually ignited in her eyes. Knowing the timing was right, I casually mentioned that some online lending platforms have lax approval processes and that she could try using her spouse's identity information. After all, you're still legally married, and his debts are partly yours too. Why not use it to save yourself? First, cornered, Lu Xiaoya used Song Jiabao's identity information to borrow a massive amount of high-interest loans from a series of illegal online lending platforms. With the money secured, I kept my promise and invited my junior brother. The surgery was successful, and Lu Xiaoya's life was saved. During her hospitalization for recovery, I, thoughtfully, arranged a double room for her. In the same hospital room was a male patient with a reproductive system disease. Gentle and refined, he had been divorced for many years and seemed to come from a well-off family. He took great care of Lu Xiaoya, who shared a similar plight, offering her water and peeling fruit for her with meticulous attention. On one side was Song Jiabao, who, upon learning of her illness, showed no concern and even threatened to beat her to death after she posted a video defaming him. On the other side was the considerate and attentive roommate in the same hospital room. Lu Xiaoya's heart, which had never received warmth from Song Jiabao, quickly fell. The two soon became intimate, even engaging in some ambiguous actions in the hospital room. When I went on rounds, I saw with my own eyes the man feeding Lu Xiaoya, their fingers touching and their eyes lingering on each other. I flipped through the man's medical record, the test result that read, HIV positive, and the corner of my mouth lifted almost imperceptibly as I silently left the room. A few months later, Lu Xiaoya was discharged from the hospital and moved in with that male patient, renting a place together. Even more fortunately, she was, once again, pregnant, and the two were overjoyed. I saw that the timing was ripe. I packaged the clear photos and videos I had taken earlier of Lu Xiaoya intimately interacting with a male patient inside and outside the hospital ward, as well as entering and exiting a rental house together, and sent them to Song Jiabao, who had been unable to find Lu Xiaoya since her discharge from the hospital. It can be imagined how furious Song Jiabao would be when he saw those photos, realizing that Lu Xiaoya had not only cheated on him but was also pregnant with a bastard. Later, Song Jiabao found Lu Xiaoya cuddling with her new lover in a rented apartment based on the photos. His pent-up anger completely erupted, and he rushed forward like a madman, shoving the man aside before launching a frenzied assault on Lu Xiaoya, focusing his attacks on her abdomen. Bitch, whore, how dare you cheat on me? I'll beat you and that bastard child of yours to death. Lu Xiaoya suffered severe bleeding on the spot and was rushed to the hospital. Although she survived, her uterus was severely damaged, and the doctor declared that she would never be able to bear children again. Song Jiabao also received a heavier sentence due to the severe harm he caused. I went to the prison to visit Song Jiabao through the glass. I watched his haggard appearance and slowly took out the long-prepared test report proving the biological paternity of the fetus Lu Xiaoya was carrying at the time. I pressed it against the glass. Song Jiabao, my voice dripped with sarcasm, the bastard you kept calling, take a good look, this is the one you personally aborted, the Song family's only true, heaven-sent gift. Song Jiabao's eyes widened abruptly. He stared fixedly at the report, his expression shifting from shock to disbelief, then to remorse. Before finally collapsing completely, he began frantically banging his head against the soundproof glass in front of him. Ah, my son, my son. I looked at him coldly, without a trace of pity in my heart. That paternity report was nothing more than something I ordered online. If he had looked closely enough, he would have noticed that it didn't even have a single authenticity seal. But what does it matter? The most effective way to destroy someone is to ruin what they hold most dear, and what he cherished most, from beginning to end, was nothing but an illusory obsession. Later, in order to secure a reduced sentence and be released from prison, Song Jiabao pleaded with Lu Xiaoya to issue a letter of forgiveness, even willing to divorce and leave with nothing, to escape this nightmare and openly be with her new boyfriend. Lu Xiaoya agreed without hesitation. After his release, he wanted to seek revenge against me but couldn't even get to see me. With my previous academic achievements and the hospital support, I had already transitioned into a management role, been promoted to a better hospital, and taken on an important position. Song Jiabao simply couldn't reach me, wanting to settle accounts with Lu Xiaoya, but found that Lu Xiaoya had once again disappeared without a trace. All that was left for Song Jiabao was a destitute home and the group of ferocious loan sharks waiting outside the door for a long time because of his borrowing. Song Jiabao, pay back what you owe. Dare to borrow money from our honest loan and not pay it back. Tired of living. Amidst a series of piercing screams and the sounds of punches and kicks, Song Jiabao's leg was broken, leaving him to struggle for the rest of his life under the endless pursuit of debt collectors. And what about Lu Xiaoya? After her brief illusion of happiness shattered, her male patient friend, upon learning that she was permanently infertile and that Song Jiabao was about to be released from prison, took the money she had obtained from Song Jiabao and vanished without a trace. Soon after, she began to suffer from a persistent fever and developed strange rashes on her body. A hospital examination delivered a verdict as final as a judgment, HIV. Holding that diagnosis report, she stood on a bustling street, watching the vibrant lives around her, and let out a desperate and regretful wail. Dragging her sick body, she lingered in the corners of the city, waiting for death's final arrival. Standing before the floor-to-ceiling window in the spacious, bright office of the new hospital, I gazed down at the bustling city below. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My sister and I unlocked a choice-based system. The system asked, 1 billion or your biological mother, which would you choose? Without hesitation, my sister chose the 1 billion, and she married into the wealthy Santos family, receiving a 1 billion dowry. Meanwhile, I lived an ordinary life with our remarried mother. Who would have thought that less than 3 years after my sister married into the Santos family, they went bankrupt. Her husband fled abroad with all the money, leaving her alone to take the blame and go to prison. After she was released from prison, the first thing she did was come to kill me. When I opened my eyes again, we were both back on the day we had to make our choice. This time, she was the first to choose our birth mother. I laughed. Finally someone was going to brave that den of wolves in my stead. I choose Mom, my twin sister Ophelia said those words with undisguised triumph on her face, just like the expression she wore in our past life after making her choice last time. She chose the billion, only to meet such a miserable end. It seems this time, she's brimming with confidence in her decision. I had no choice but to accept the Santos family's $1 billion bridal gift and marry the son of the country's richest man, Tucker Santos. On our wedding day, the event was nothing short of sensational. The elite from every field across the nation attended, except for the groom. This was exactly how Ophelia's marriage to him went in her past life. It's almost laughable. Tucker Santos is so childish. He refused to attend the wedding just to prove his unwavering devotion to his white moonlight. I know deep down that whether it was marrying my sister in his past life or marrying me this time, it was all because his family was pressuring him to settle down, and we bear an uncanny resemblance to his unattainable love. In his words, barely passable. The groom's absence made the wedding unbearably awkward. Standing alone beside the officiant, I caught a glimpse of Ophelia in the crowd, her face full of mockery. When she faced this situation at her own wedding last time, she was so frantic and furious that she burst into tears on the spot, turning an already awkward scene into an even more humiliating spectacle. This time she must be determined to come and watch me make a fool of myself. My younger sister has always been like this since childhood. She couldn't stand seeing me do better than her. When we were kids, she was very playful, while I studied hard, excelled academically, and was always praised by the school. Unable to bear it, she teamed up with the school bullies to pick on me. In a way, I should thank her for being like this all along. It's honed me to remain unfazed by praise or humiliation. Without a trace of resentment, I smiled through every single step of the ceremony arranged by the host. When I went down to toast, several wealthy wives couldn't stop praising me, saying I carried myself with grace and composure, handling such a situation with ease. They all thought I was suffering immense grievances, forced to put on a brave face while swallowing my pain, but what they didn't know was that I genuinely didn't care. It's just a wedding. What does it matter if the groom shows up or not? As long as the 1 billion hits my account, that's all that matters. After all, I didn't marry for that foolish man. On the wedding night, as soon as we got home, my mother-in-law lashed out at Tucker Santos, calling him a worthless disappointment who couldn't see the bigger picture, nearly humiliating the Santos family. Do you have any idea that if it weren't for Hannah holding up the scene today, our family would have become the laughingstock of everyone, facing the accusations from his own mother? Tucker Santos looked full of resentment. His mother-in-law scolded him in frustration. I don't know what you have to be dissatisfied with when you can marry a girl like Hannah. Do you really think Hannah married you because she was reaching above her station? To be honest, it's our family that's reaching above our station. Do you even realize that Hannah is? Enough, stop talking. Tucker Santos interrupted the conversation. I don't care who she is. With that, he got up from the sofa, took a few quick steps toward me, and stared straight at me, his eyes devoid of any warmth. You're just a stand-in, and a stand-in should know their place. Remember, I will never touch you, so don't even think about trying anything with me. Good grief, this idiot's arrogance is making my skin crawl. If it weren't for my mother-in-law being present, I'd really want him to stay far away from me. I have zero tolerance for stupidity. I forced out a fake smile and said, that would be perfect. Ophelia was even more impatient than I had thought. I had been married for less than a month, and she was already eager to come and show off to me. To ensure I wouldn't refuse her, she even came up with an excellent excuse and had my mother relay it to me. Your sister has found a really good boyfriend, and I'm worried she might be deceived. Could you help me check out what kind of guy he is? We met at a cafe, the location chosen by Ophelia. We hadn't even exchanged a few words before she started boasting that this was her favorite spot. With that, she naturally linked arms with David, smiling sweetly. David spoils me so much, knowing I love this place. He immediately got us an annual membership here. I knew it. With Ophelia's measly $2,800 monthly salary, there's no way she could afford this high-end coffee shop. Turns out she's just flaunting with someone else's money. I remained composed and smiled politely. Then I must thank Mr. Lin for his continued patronage of our shop. That's right, this cafe is my business. After all, with a billion-dollar fortune, it would be quite dull to just leave it all in the bank earning interest. It's only natural for me to invest some of it. Ophelia was originally holding her coffee, pretending to be artsy, but upon hearing this, she immediately set her cup down on the table. Even if you have money, don't invest recklessly. Be careful not to go bankrupt. Perhaps sensing David's puzzled look, she picked up her cup again, took a sip, and said slowly, I mean, I've come to realize that money isn't important at all. What truly matters is whether the people around you genuinely care. Once she started on this topic, she couldn't stop, praising David endlessly, how accomplished he was at such a young age, how he catered to her every whim. As I looked at Ophelia, I couldn't help but feel pity for her. What on earth has clouded my sister's judgment? Even after getting a second chance at life, she still hasn't wised up. Money isn't as important as a man's sincerity. What kind of nonsense is she spouting? Besides, what kind of person this David really is? Do you think I don't know? In my past life, I also had a relationship with David. We met at a party at Tom's house. At that time, he was Tom's favorite student, and my mother was discussing marriage with Tom. David is a handsome and talented man, already a top expert in the industry at just 30 years old. Moreover, he treats me exceptionally well. With someone like him pursuing me so passionately, I really have no reason to refuse. But my mom, after hearing Tom's advice, absolutely refused to agree to this marriage. David actually suggested we get on the bus first and buy the ticket later, which I firmly rejected. Who knew that this rejection would reveal his true colors? He started spreading malicious rumors about me everywhere, causing me great distress. It took me a long time to finally put this matter to rest. Later, I found out that his urgency to marry me was because his so-called industry expert status was completely fabricated. In reality, he had long been unable to keep his job at the company, and was hoping to leverage Tom's position as a university professor to secure a role at the university. Could a man like this have genuine feelings? Even if he did, they'd be nothing more than trash. But his dirty little secrets are nothing compared to Tom's filthy thoughts. While David was in the bathroom, I decided to give Ophelia a warning. After all, she's my own sister, and I didn't want to see her fall into that scoundrel's clutches. Don't waste your time on David. Neither Tom nor Mom would approve, I said, taking a sip of coffee before adding, to be precise, they wouldn't approve of you being with anyone. Stop talking nonsense. You're just jealous, aren't you? Your husband won't touch you, so you can't stand seeing David and me all lovey-dovey. Besides, Uncle Tom has always been very kind to me. If you didn't get along with him before, it's because your personality was unlikable. I scoffed. Oh, so you think you're Tom's favorite? Then I have nothing more to say. Good advice falls on deaf ears, and mercy cannot save those who refuse to be saved. I've been very busy lately, busy making money work for me. Besides that coffee shop, I actually own several other properties. With money in hand, making investments feels incredibly satisfying. It's finally fulfilling my old dream of being in business. I used to always think about saving enough money to open my own store. During those years, I tried almost every job imaginable, from production to sales and after-sales service. I've thoroughly mastered the ins and outs of many products, but for a lowly wage earner, saving up enough capital to start a business is no easy feat. I never managed to fulfill that wish before I died, but looking back now, it was precisely these valuable experiences accumulated from grassroots work that allowed me to understand the market, the customers, and most importantly, the employees better than other investors. After nearly half a year, not only did my 1 billion not decrease, but I actually made quite a profit. However, I had no intention of telling anyone about it. One day, as I lay on the bed, gleefully staring at my bank account balance, Tucker Santos suddenly barged into the bedroom, glaring at me with obvious displeasure. Woman, don't think pretending not to be interested in me will get my attention. I looked up and gave him a glance reserved for idiots. Fucking moron, I said casually. If you've got nothing better to do, go find something to occupy yourself. Stop hovering around me. I'm busy counting money and don't have time for you. Tucker Santos, for some inexplicable reason, flew into a rage and started berating me. Money, money, money. Just like all the other women, all you know is how to spend. I scoffed inwardly. If anyone knew the consequences of reckless spending, it was me. Far better than him. After all, there was Ophelia's cautionary tale. Back then, she was mindlessly extravagant, blowing through $1 billion dowry in just over 2 years. Only when the money ran out did she remember the importance of nurturing a marital bond, but it was too late. By then, Tucker Santos was already hopelessly infatuated with his white moonlight. I was different from her. I never even considered trying to maintain this so-called marital bond that never truly existed. Why waste time on something so meaningless? Isn't focusing on making money much better? A month later, my mother-in-law and I boarded a flight to Country F. She was here for vacation, while I came partly to conduct market research for Idols, and partly because I simply couldn't stand Tucker Santos anymore. He's been appearing in front of me more and more frequently lately, always putting on that domineering CEO act. Woman, no matter how cold you pretend to be, it's useless. I won't give you a second glance. I don't know how to express my disdain for him. I genuinely look down on men who idle around doing nothing all day. With a CEO like him, can the company even stay afloat? Regarding this issue, Tucker Santos quickly demonstrated the answer through his actions. No, he completely lacks the most basic decision-making abilities that a leader should possess. During the more than half a month in Country F, my mother-in-law received daily calls about company matters, most of which were from Tucker Santos himself, a grown man nearly 30 years old, yet he behaves like a child, needing to ask his mother's opinion on everything. He couldn't make a single decision, let alone handle the ever-changing business landscape. My mother-in-law had such a headache that she had to book an early flight back home. I came on this vacation to see if Tucker could manage company affairs independently without me. It seems I overestimated him, but you're much more mature than him. Watching you conduct research these days reminded me of when I was young, helping his father manage business affairs. I still stand by what I said back then. For the Santos family to marry a girl like you is truly reaching above their station. Looking at this earnest, kind-faced elder before me, I found it hard to connect her with the wicked mother-in-law Ophelia had described, but in that moment, I understood. My mother-in-law wasn't targeting anyone in particular, she simply despised incompetence. If she could show such disdain for her own good-for-nothing son, how much more would she loathe Ophelia, that utterly useless daughter-in-law? Coincidentally, we share common ground in our disdain for useless people. The first thing I did upon returning to China was establish an entertainment company and aggressively recruit trainees. I, Hannah, am determined to make it big in the entertainment industry, not just survive, but thrive. When my mother-in-law found out, she fully supported my venture, injecting substantial funds and leveraging her connections to secure numerous exposure opportunities for my trainees. At first, I was a bit reluctant, not wanting to owe her such a big favor, but she said something that eased my concerns. Don't think I'm spoiling you, I'm speaking purely from a business perspective. I can't put all my eggs in one basket, especially not in a rotten one like the Santos family business, which looks anything but reliable. With her support, my trainees quickly gained some recognition. Coincidentally, a show called Debut Trainees was in the works, and I signed them up for it, and I, one of the show's sponsors, sat on the judges' panel as the group formation manager. Trainees from various companies took turns showcasing their talents, but deep down, everyone knew these performances were merely foils. Their sole purpose was to highlight the person about to take the stage next. Hello everyone, my name is Bella, the undisputed favorite to win the championship. Tucker Santos's long-cherished white moonlight. It must be said, Bella's face is indeed worth the hefty price. Utterly captivating. No wonder that fool Tucker Santos is so bewitched he's lost his soul. But as stunning as she looks, her talent performance is equally cringe-worthy. A rhythmless rap that made me nauseous just listening to it. Her image is excellent, but her professional skills still need refinement. I thought I had phrased it quite diplomatically, but I never expected Bella's team to be just as two-faced as she is. They aggressively marketed her as the victim. Bella also deliberately or inadvertently brought up her past relationship with Tucker Santos, steering public opinion to paint me as a scheming woman who stole someone else's love and married into wealth by throwing myself at a rich man. Just one episode into the show, the buzz around her and me overshadowed all the other trainees. Exactly the outcome her team had aimed for. Now, the biggest question on everyone's mind is Tucker Santos's own stance on the matter. Everyone in the industry knows that the president of a publicly listed company would never personally respond to such gossipy news. However, they overestimated Tucker Santos's intelligence. I received his call. Just admit you were pretending to be indifferent to me, and I'll reluctantly help you out this time. Fucking idiot. I finally blurted out the words I'd been holding back for so long and hung up the phone immediately. Half an hour later, I saw the headline news. The president of the Santos family publicly sided with Bella and revealed their love token. Are you an idiot? Did a donkey kick your brain? I drove straight to Tucker Santos, slapped him hard across the face, and yelled furiously, covering his reddened cheek. He stared at me in shock. The last person who hit me was my mother. Woman, you're playing with fire. If you keep mixing personal and professional matters and blabbing everything, you're truly playing with fire. Do you really think Bella is any good? He smirked. Oh, woman, so you're jealous of Bella, as if you're worthy. I'm exhausted. Let it all burn. There's really no saving this. I thought I could give him a wake-up call to stay away from Bella and prevent my mother-in-law's efforts from going to waste, but now it seems pointless. With leadership like this, It would be a miracle if the Santos family business doesn't go bankrupt. The Santos family's rival, the Shine Group, didn't miss this golden opportunity, capitalizing on the gossip about Tucker Santos and Bella. They heavily publicized Tucker Santos's chaotic personal life and even dug up that the token of love was actually a limited edition from a brand that insulted the nation. Overnight, Tucker Santos's reputation plummeted, and along with it, the stock prices of the Santos family business took a nosedive. I glanced at the ever-increasing balance in my bank account and remained completely unfazed. Let him go bankrupt, I'll keep making my money, no interference either way. But in Ophelia's eyes, that was clearly not the case. She was convinced that Tucker Santos and I were birds of a feather. So the moment she heard about the Santos family's stock price plummeting, she immediately called to mock me. Even though David and I broke up, Uncle Tom treats me incredibly well, buying me all sorts of designer brands and supporting me unconditionally in everything I do, unlike you, who may have a wealthy husband but isn't even given a second glance by him. Finally, she didn't forget to add, "Oh, sorry, I forgot, your rich husband is about to go bankrupt too." I stayed silent and hung up the phone. Sometimes, watching a fool perform can be quite helpless. That's just how Tom is, spending money like water, especially on young girls. His pension, though not meager, couldn't withstand his spending habits like this. In my previous life, my mother had to work multiple jobs every day, enduring great hardship. I tried persuading her to break up with Tom, but she insisted that at her age, finding a caring companion wasn't easy. Seeing that persuasion was futile, I resolved to earn more to support her. It was precisely for this reason that I resigned from my position as a college gymnastics instructor, seeking broader career opportunities, and so from that day onward, the one juggling multiple jobs became me. What made it hardest for me to endure wasn't the pressure from work, but my mother's insatiable greed. She never felt sorry for me, she only complained that I didn't give enough. Gradually, I realized my mother was a hopeless romantic, completely willing to treat me like livestock just for that wretched old man, Tom. So what now? This sister of mine is notoriously lazy and gluttonous. Expecting her to go out and earn money is utterly impossible, so my mother has no choice but to tough it out on her own. With my mother's frail physique, how could she possibly endure their exploitation? Sure enough, just a few days later, I received a call from my mother. She sobbed uncontrollably on the phone, describing her situation in the most pitiful terms. "I believe everything you've said, but what does any of this have to do with me?" I calmly said a word and hung up the phone. Being overly saintly never ends well. Remember to let go of the savior complex and respect others' fate. The competition in Debut or Bust is already halfway through, with all contestants giving their all to secure a debut spot, except for Bella. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I truly wouldn't have believed that at this stage of the competition, someone could still perform the simplest routines so utterly poorly. Her movements were distorted, her voice was off-key as she sang the final line. "No one sees the sorrows and joys of the dancing girl." I endured the entire song, but finally couldn't take it anymore. "No one sees my sorrows and joys either." The entire studio suddenly fell silent. Blood rushed to my head as I spoke sharply and sternly. "If you had attended even a single gymnastics class, you couldn't have performed this piece with artistic gymnastics elements so poorly. Have you ever respected the audience? Have you ever respected rhythmic gymnastics? This is a desecration of the sport." As soon as I finished speaking, some fans behind me became quite displeased. "What's wrong with this woman? Does she even understand gymnastics?" "Exactly, our Bella has been working so hard. This old hag is just jealous of Bella." Bella remained calm and smiled faintly. "Sister is right, I'm indeed not very skilled in this area, but from what you said, it seems you know a lot about rhythmic gymnastics. Would you mind giving us a live demonstration?" As she spoke, she raised the performance ribbon in her hand. I understood, she was provoking me. Her smile was radiant and elegant now, but it didn't matter, she wouldn't be smiling for long. I took the ribbon from her hand and spun, leaped, and closed my eyes in one fluid, graceful motion. "It's been a while since I practiced, so I'm a bit rusty." I smiled as I handed the ribbon back to Bella. She was completely dumbfounded at that moment, but what came next left her even more stunned. That very afternoon, someone online dug up another identity of mine that I had never mentioned before, a former world champion in rhythmic gymnastics. These are just some past honors I've received, and I don't think they're worth mentioning, but the importance the outside world places on this identity of mine has far exceeded my imagination. In less than half a day, news about me spread across the internet. Everyone was amazed by my excellence and even more impressed by my modesty. I always said, There's no way an ordinary person could marry into the richest family. You've got to have some real skills to be worthy of that. What nonsense are you talking about? That's a world champion we're talking about. This is the Santos family reaching above their station. Thanks to my status as a world champion, the reputation of the Santos family business has also rebounded. After a continuous decline of over a week, their stock prices finally showed signs of rising. This crisis was nothing short of a narrow escape for the Santos family. Only then did my mother-in-law's long-suspended heart finally settle. Albeit barely. I told you, marrying Hannah was the best stroke of luck your Santos family could ever hope for. You better know what's good for you, you brat. It took me a long time to find out that the person who first revealed my championship status online was actually hired by my mother-in-law. I asked her why she did it. She looked smug. My daughter-in-law is so outstanding, I couldn't let her be bullied by those little nobodies. While I was thriving and flourishing, Bella's life wasn't going so well. After the dancer incident, her popularity plummeted. The company poured massive resources into her, but her abysmal professional skills rendered all those investments futile, leaving the company no choice but to shift their focus to promoting someone else. Just like that, Bella became the company's discarded pawn. No one knew where the malicious rumors originated, but public opinion began speculating that I would seize the opportunity to crush Bella completely to push my own trainee. Bella herself abandoned even the last shred of dignity. Facing the camera, she tearfully claimed she was under immense pressure, in poor condition, felt targeted, and might withdraw from the competition at any moment due to the unbearable stress. The trolls also seized the moment to insinuate that she was being suppressed by me. In reality, this was nothing more than the last-ditch struggle of a cornered beast. The company had already abandoned her. This was an indisputable fact. No matter how much she flailed, she was only lining the pockets of marketing accounts with her own money. All I had to do was watch quietly, but I forgot. I still had Tucker Santos, that bumbling ally of mine. This time, once again, he was the first to step forward and declare his stance. However, unlike last time, this time he firmly stood by my side. I rushed into his office, covered in dust, and seeing his expression of expecting praise, my anger flared up uncontrollably. Didn't I say last time that we should keep public and private matters separate? You really didn't remember a single word of it. Are you a pig brain? He was confused and could only rage helplessly. You woman, I'm protecting you. Why aren't you satisfied? What exactly do you want me to do? My phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out to check, and my vision darkened. The rival company had moved faster than I anticipated. As soon as I saw Tucker Santos' outrageous stance, I immediately contacted PR to minimize the fallout. But now, it seems I was still a step too late. Tucker Santos' negative press has already flooded the internet. Tucker Santos choosing to speak up for Hannah at this moment, isn't that just pouring fuel on the fire? LOL, a rotten cucumber still trying to play the devoted lover. What a joke. For a time, all sorts of scandalous rumors about him were dug up. Of course, I knew these were all false. But who cares about the truth when it comes to gossip? For 3 whole days, the incident remained a hot topic. I was determined to let him clean up his own mess. He struggled for over a month without making any progress, and in the end, it was my mother-in-law who stepped in to settle things for him. At the family dinner that day, my mother-in-law, exhausted both physically and mentally, said, "I'm getting old and have long wanted to step back. This is the last time I'll help you. From now on, don't come to me with any business matters. Listen to your wife more. He's quite good at applying what he learns. Honey, do you have any suggestions for the company's future development?" I took a sip of red wine and looked at my mother-in-law. "Mom, if conditions permit, I suggest you have another child. When it rains, it pours. Lately, there hasn't been a single thing that hasn't given me a headache." Just as we resolved the mess Tucker Santos caused, news came that my mom was hospitalized due to illness. I had just arrived at the hospital room with Tucker Santos when my mom started scolding me. "You brat, you finally showed up. At least you have some conscience. Don't praise me too soon. We're actually here to get back the $500,000 Tucker Santos transferred to you. That idiot, trying to suck up to me, transferred $500,000 without hesitation as soon as he heard my mom was hospitalized. Luckily, he came to me immediately afterward to claim credit, or I might have lost $500,000 for nothing and remained completely in the dark. Hannah, you're really too much. Not only did you not contribute any money, but you're even planning to take back what your brother-in-law gave." I glanced coldly at Ophelia, who had just returned from outside carrying large and small bags, with Tom following behind her. From the looks of it, had the two of them gone shopping. My mom worked herself sick just to support these two leeches, and yet they still had the leisure to go shopping. How dare they criticize me, I sneered coldly. Oh, buying so many luxury items. Could it be with the 500,000 my family lent you? None of your business, the money was lent to me by my brother-in-law. What's it to you? I teased. Oh, your brother-in-law regrets it now and wants it back. Ophelia blinked her big eyes at Tucker Santos. Brother-in-law, is what she said true? I remained expressionless and looked at Tucker Santos, who nodded obediently like a kitten being held, earning a smile from me in return. I then turned to Ophelia. If you don't want to pay it back, just give me the interest. Ophelia grumbled while taking out her phone to transfer the money. You rotten-hearted scoundrel, all you care about is money, money, money. Unlike me, who values relationships, I glanced at her, then at Tom, who had been fawning over her from behind. If you value emotional bonds, that's the best. Uncle Tom has deep feelings for you. In the blink of an eye, the final night of the competition arrived under the witness of hundreds of millions. Max, who belonged to the same company as Bella, emerged as a dark horse and won the championship, debuting as the center position. Perhaps many found this outcome surprising, but I knew this young girl's talent truly deserved such a reward. I've seen her practicing dance alone late at night. I've seen her bruised and crying after failing difficult moves, only to get back up and try again. I've seen her practicing with an 4 drip while running a 40 degrees Celsius fever. To be fair, she works harder and excels more than all the trainees under my management. Now, she stands at the center of the stage, holding her trophy under the spotlight, crying like a child. Through sobs, she expressed endless gratitude to me, saying it was all thanks to me that she reached this position today. On the eve of the competition, rumors had been swirling that I was using capital to suppress trainees from other companies in order to promote my own artists. Many unscrupulous marketing accounts even asserted that the final center position would undoubtedly go to one of my trainees. However, reality dealt these people a harsh slap in the face. It's true that I used capital, but my capital was spent on supporting Max. During that time, rumors circulated among the trainees that Max was considering withdrawing from the competition. For a girl who loved the stage so much, withdrawing must have been a last resort. Only after I sent someone to inquire did I learn that her father had fallen seriously ill and couldn't afford medical treatment. Without hesitation, I covered all her father's medical expenses, relieving her of any worries so she could focus on the competition. Dreams are precious, and children from ordinary families should be even braver in pursuing them. I hope you never give up easily. I'm here for you. I thought that after finishing the show's recording, I could stay away from all the drama and take a good break for a while, but fate had other plans. The secret formula of the Santos family's flagship product was leaked. In the previous life, the Santos family never recovered from this incident and went completely bankrupt 6 months later. This news caused quite a stir at the time. My sister cried and told me back then that it was all because of that bitch Bella. Seeing no hope of rising to power, she turned to the arms of the CEO of Shine Group. She was the one who extracted the secret recipe from Tucker Santos and leaked it. But in this life, Tucker Santos follows my lead every day and has long since cut ties with Bella. How could he still fall for her tricks? Tucker Santos stammered. She said if I didn't give her the secret recipe, she'd have someone kidnap you. I face-bombed. Guess why she didn't just kidnap me directly? Because she doesn't like the idea. I yelled furiously. I go out with 2 bodyguards every damn day. How the hell would she kidnap me? Do you even have a brain? And even if she did, what then? Am I worth more, or is the secret recipe worth more? You're worth more. You're worth more than anything. Tucker Santos answered instantly. Besides, we've got so many product lines at home. It's not like we depend on this one product to survive. I was so angry that my mind went blank, and I really wanted to tear his head open myself to see what kind of structure was inside. Seeing my expression grow increasingly grim, he whispered, "What should we do now?" Mom said to listen to you more. I let out a long sigh and looked out the window. "I'll show you a clear path. Why don't you jump out right now?" The situation became extremely awkward, but thankfully, my phone rang. Just in time. I had just pressed the answer button when I heard my mom's wailing voice. "Come back quickly. Something's happened to your sister." Ophelia was crying her eyes out, barely able to speak coherently, and my mom kept hesitating, as if there was something she couldn't bring herself to say. It took me a while to finally understand what had actually happened. To put it simply, my sister was almost raped, and the one who tried to force himself on her was none other than my mom's new partner, Tom. I knew my sister was foolish, but I never imagined she could be this stupid. My mom was at a loss. What do we do now, with your sister like this and your Uncle Tom running away? How am I supposed to live the rest of my life? Her wailing annoyed me, and I snapped impatiently, what else can we do? First, call the police and have him arrested, we'll figure out the rest later. My mother's face changed drastically upon hearing this, and she frantically tried to stop me. No, you can't call the police. If you do, your Uncle Tom will be finished for sure. Besides, flies don't go after an uncracked egg. If she had been more proper, the man wouldn't have assaulted her. As expected. It's the same old mother I know. In my past life, when I told her about that old pervert's inappropriate intentions toward me, she reacted the exact same way. From that moment, I understood that my mom was a complete romantic fool. She would rather believe her own daughter was a misbehaving lowlife than admit that the man she fancied was an old pervert. Ophelia wasn't crying now, but her expression looked even more despairing than before. While my mom stepped out for a moment, she turned on me. You knew all along he was like this, didn't you? Why didn't you tell me? Oh, of course, how could I not know? I'm just smarter and more decisive than her. When I discovered Tom's true nature and realized my mom wouldn't take my side, I fled that hellhole overnight and started living on my own. Almost all the money I'd earned before was in my mom's hands, so life after leaving home was extremely tough for me. I also tried to seek help from my wealthy sister, but at the height of her success, she wouldn't even glance my way. How dare you come here to accuse me? You've got some nerve, I said to Ophelia, furious. She was momentarily stunned by my words. I gave her a disdainful look. So what if you've lived a second life? So what if you made a different choice? You can see it now, can't you? No matter what you choose, you're always the one who loses. Do you know why? Ophelia clenched her lower lip tightly, her expression turning ferocious, her eyes filled with hatred. I moved closer to her, stroked her beautiful face, and said with a smile, because you're stupid, you always pin your hopes on others, you've never thought of changing anything by yourself. Silly little sister, even if a fool and a waste were to live 100 lives, they'd just perform 100 different ways to die like fools. I'll kill you. Suddenly, she recklessly rushed forward, grabbing my collar and trying to choke me. However, the moment she made her move, bodyguards burst through the door and pinned her to the ground, eliciting a scream like a slaughtered pig. I crouched down to examine her closely, sighing in pity. TSK, did you really think you were still on the same level as me? The fact that I let you get this close was already a courtesy, and you actually tried to kill me. Pinned to the ground, she thrashed and writhed wildly, like a complete madwoman. Oh, I can't say she's like a madwoman, she's genuinely gone mad in this state. That very night, my mother called me in tears. What do we do? Your sister went mad and jumped into the river. She was lucky to be pulled out in time, but she was already acting crazy before jumping into the river, and the shock of the icy water made her even more unhinged. Now she goes berserk at the sight of men, and when she does, she tries to kill them. My mother had no choice but to pay out of her own pocket to send her to a mental hospital. Are you really not going to help? Your mom is struggling so much, Tucker Santos asked cautiously, his eyes darting furtively in my direction, like an old eunuch awaiting an imperial decree. I shot him a glare. Mind your own business. Her mindset matches the suffering she endures. You'd better worry about your own issues. I heard the workers haven't been paid for over 2 months and are about to cause trouble. He patted his chest confidently. Don't worry about that, I've already got a solution. Just wait a couple days to see your man perform. I looked at him skeptically, muttering to myself, can I really trust him? It must be said, when it comes to disappointment, Tucker Santos never lets me down. Within days, he answered my doubts with his actions, not a shred of trustworthiness. He called together employee representatives from the company and held what he called a mobilization meeting. Seeing his confident and self-satisfied demeanor, I thought he had genuinely come up with a good solution to overcome the crisis. Who would have guessed that he actually proposed suspending workers' wages and then delivered a lengthy speech? I know everyone is also struggling, so I'm willing to lead by example. Starting today, I, Tucker Santos, will also stop receiving my salary, just like everyone else. I believe that as long as we all work together, we can definitely get through this difficult time. The stench of this capitalist bloodsucker made me sick to my stomach. How could the worker representatives below the stage listen to his nonsense? They all clamored to beat him up. Just as the situation was about to spiral out of control, a figure strode heroically onto the podium, raised a thin rod in hand, and swung it straight at Tucker Santos's back. The crowd below fell silent instantly. Tucker Santos froze for 2 seconds, then turned to look back with an expression of utter disbelief. The one who hit him was none other than his own mother, and The person who handed her the stick was none other than his own wife. "This strike is for your co-workers." My mother-in-law held the stick with a stern expression on her face. "You're the privileged son of a wealthy family. Of course you don't rely on a salary to get by, but have you ever considered how these ordinary workers will support their families without wages?" The anger on my mother-in-law's face gradually faded, replaced by frustration. "I never let you suffer a single hardship, yet I never imagined this would harm you, turning you into such a useless person." Tucker Santos rubbed his sore back, looking aggrieved. My mother-in-law pushed him aside with disgust, then turned to me with a smile and waved, signaling for me to step onto the stage. "Regarding the company's future, there's no need for everyone to worry. I hereby promise that salaries will be paid as usual for the next 2 months. If the company cannot continue operations after 2 months, I will compensate everyone according to legal requirements, but I believe we won't reach that point, because my wonderful daughter-in-law has already prepared a comprehensive plan to address this crisis." As she spoke, she gently took my hand. "Oh, no, I should address you as former chairman. I now officially announce that Tucker Santos is stepping down from the position of chairman." A familiar female voice rang out from behind the crowd. "Don't get too happy yet, Hannah. I've spent a fortune to secure connections with the James family. Your raw material supply chain will be cut off soon. Even if you had all the talent in the world, you couldn't revive this dead game." Bella showed up uninvited, with "Revenge is sweet" practically written all over her face. "Tucker Santos, you threw me aside for your new wife, so don't blame me for being ruthless. Bet you never saw this coming. Your parents' hard-earned family business, brought down by me alone." She walked through the crowd, surrounded by bodyguards, and stopped right in front of me with a defiant expression. "Hannah, you stole what was rightfully mine. You're really asking for death." Tucker Santos shielded me behind him and began delivering his domineering CEO lines. "If you're deliberately trying to provoke me, let me tell you, you've succeeded. Get out of here," I said impatiently, grabbing Tucker Santos by the collar and yanking him backward. Throwing him behind me, I stepped forward to meet Bella's challenging gaze, not backing down an inch in presence. "You don't actually think you've won, do you? In the previous life, the Shine Group secured victory by cutting off the Santos family's supply of raw materials. Coincidentally, in my past life, I worked as a live-in nanny for a while, and my employer, William, was actually the owner of the raw material supplier for the Santos family. However, by then, the situation was already set in stone, and there was nothing I could do. This time, it's different." When I noticed events unfolding in the same direction again, I anticipated Bella's next move and took the initiative to contact William first. William divorced early and never remarried, raising his 5.5-year-old daughter Mia alone, spoiling her rotten. Mia had been an extremely picky eater since childhood, never eating properly. For this, William spent no small amount of money hiring specialists to help, but to little effect, until I came along. It took me just over half a year to cure the little girl of her picky eating habits. Once her diet normalized, her temperament improved significantly, earning me William's deep gratitude. If in my past life I had Mia completely figured out, this time would naturally be no exception. The Santos family and the James family have been business partners for many years. Leveraging this relationship, I invited the father and daughter to dinner and presented them with a chestnut cake I made myself, Mia's absolute favorite. The little girl indeed fell in love with it at first bite, devouring several pieces. William was utterly astonished and insisted on getting the recipe, saying he'd pay any amount for it. I didn't want his money, but I demanded his guarantee of a steady supply of ingredients. He agreed readily and went home satisfied with my recipe. My mother-in-law was a bit uneasy. "Aren't you afraid he'll go back on his word?" "Don't worry, even if Bella tries to tempt him with benefits in the future, I guarantee he won't change his mind. That chestnut cake, Mia will get tired of it in about 10 days to half a month, and then he'll come begging me again, and I have hundreds of recipes for foods Mia loves, enough to keep him hooked for over a decade." After answering a phone call, Bella's face turned alternately green and purple, looking quite unpleasant. I sneered, "Why aren't you laughing now? Is it because you're just not the laughing type?" Seeing her speechless from my retort, I pressed my advantage. "It was William who called you, wasn't it? Did he tell you he wouldn't agree to your demands?" "Oh dear, he doesn't care for your dirty money." Furious, she lunged at me and started a physical altercation. Tucker Santos might be useless intellectually, but his reflexes were sharp enough. He grabbed Bella's arm and shoved her back hard. "A woman of Tucker Santos, how dare you lay a hand on her?" At this moment, the the domineering CEO's lines don't seem so nauseating after all. Bella was shoved off balance and signaled the bodyguards beside her to step in immediately. To be honest, I'm quite curious to see if a battle damaged Tucker Santos would look more appealing, but reason tells me that if a real fight breaks out, it might not just be battle damage we're dealing with, so I spoke up to stop them. If you protect her now, don't blame me for not warning you when she ends up in court later and you can't get your pay. What kind of nonsense are you talking about? Oh, you don't know yet, I've already submitted a report to the relevant authorities, accusing you of trade secret infringement and engaging in unfair business competition. The money you gave William has also been submitted as evidence. What should we do? Someone might end up in jail. Bella couldn't handle the pressure and fainted right on the stage. Tucker Santos gave me a big thumbs up. Honey, you're amazing. What would I do without you? Get lost. If it weren't for not wanting Mom's hard work to go to waste, I wouldn't bother cleaning up your mess. When I say the Santos family business was my mother-in-law's life's work, I'm not exaggerating at all. She told me about her struggles when she was young. Back then, my father-in-law was just a greenhorn who lost money in every business venture, becoming the laughingstock of the whole village. It wasn't until he married my mother-in-law that things started to turn around. Later, when the Santos family business was established, my mother-in-law was even busier, handling everything and worrying about every little detail. You have no idea how much those years took out of me. My health suffered. The doctor warned that if I kept pushing myself like that, I wouldn't be able to keep the baby in my womb. Recalling the past, my mother-in-law looked bitter. Even after all these years of working tirelessly for the company, I never got an official position. That old fool Tucker always said women couldn't be trusted with important responsibilities. What nonsense. Her tone turned resentful, then suddenly triumphant. No matter how much he schemed, he never saw his own early death coming. After he died, didn't his son and the company both end up under my control? Just thinking about it makes me feel vindicated. My mother-in-law is usually an elegant lady, but I never expected her to have such an attitude when talking about her late husband. I found it somewhat absurd, but even more endearing. I smiled and said, luckily, Tucker isn't like his father. He's quite supportive of me taking over the company. Would he dare not support you? My mother-in-law took my hand and said gently, my dear, you must remember, we women are no less capable than those big men. There's no need for us to always stay behind the scenes supporting them. I understood her meaning perfectly and nodded with a smile. After much deliberation, I still chose to report to the police without telling my mom, and Tom was sentenced to 6 years in prison. On the day of the arrest, my mom came to me in a rage, saying I had ruined her happiness for the rest of her life. I told her that wasn't true. Happiness was still possible, so I promptly sent her to the happy retirement home. Tucker Santos was sent to work at the grassroots level. As my mother-in-law put it, he needed to experience all the hardships he had avoided over the past 30 years, so he wouldn't be so useless. To ensure he wouldn't receive any special treatment, my mother-in-law deliberately concealed his identity and sent him to the most remote factory under the company's subsidiary. At first, Tucker Santos cried and threw tantrums like a spoiled child refusing to go to school. This situation ended on the day he received his salary, a monthly wage of $1,500. But he carried the attitude of someone who'd earned $15 million. That day, he couldn't contain his excitement and called me to boast about his fortune of $1,500. Did you know, this is the first time I've earned money through my own labor. For the first time, I feel that my existence has meaning. It's through work. From then on, Tucker Santos became increasingly motivated. By carrying heavy loads at the factory, he repeatedly earned recognition as an advanced worker. I used to think I had ruined him by raising him wrong. Turns out, I just chose the wrong path. He's actually the physical labor type. My mother-in-law dropped this remark and, pulling her suitcase behind her, embarked on her vacation journey. As for me, I'm not so leisurely. Both the Santos family business and my entertainment company are thriving. I'm busy making money and counting it, overwhelmed with work. This bittersweet feeling is truly fascinating. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.